Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
This is Izzy interviewing Dad, Daniel Varian Jones, the second. I almost said the third. And the current date is January 18th, 2023. What do you do when you're starting to get tired while driving?
So the memory I have of being tired while driving was driving back to school on a Sunday night at boarding school. And I used to open the window, and if that didn't work, I'd slap myself.
I do the same thing. I slap
myself in the face.
Or I shake my head
or
like
shake
this
my head.
to get the blood pumping.
Yeah, that's what I do. But if that doesn't work, you stop the car.
Okay. All right. Good advice. What is one of your favorite words and why? And take all the time you need to think about these.
Well, I don't want to take too much time.
Well, I have a 64 gigabyte
okay.
SD card, so.
I have this thing right now with ALS that it's like life before ALS and life after ALS. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to remember some of the things that I loved before, like something like this.
Yeah.
You know? One of the words that I like right now is autophagy.
What does that mean?
Auto.
Yeah.
Phagy. It means self-eating. And what it is, autophagy is a mechanism in your body that cleans up the trash in your cells. So it's like the trash man in your body. And
so it's like the bacteria that clean up your trash?
It's not really bacteria. It's a mechanism that... So the trash in your body are proteins. Proteins become junk or misfolded. And this mechanism cleans them out and gets rid of them. Some of these questions I think I might be thinking about in the back of my head. So I may be ADD and interrupt you and say...
No, that's okay.
I thought of a word.
If you could give one piece of advice to yourself at my age, what would it be?
This sounds really boring. I'm going to give you two things.
Okay.
The first is start investing money.
Okay.
And don't give up on it. Even when you think you need money, keep doing it. Even if you put $100 away or $50 away, or if you're lucky and you can do 1,000. Every month you put money into this investment account, which I can talk to you about. And if you do that religiously, there's this wonderful thing called compounding interest, which means that the more money you put in, the more money you make from interest every year. You'll be very happy you have that money at 65. Yeah. Something I didn't know until I was about this age. The other piece of advice is treat life like an adventure. Do things that scare you. Do things that you think you can't do. And this is a little counterintuitive to the first piece, but don't worry about money as much. Okay. Worry about the experience and the knowledge you're gaining from those things that scare you, that feel adventurous. And an adventure is not like going to Nepal to go hiking. An adventure is doing something you don't know how to do. Yeah. And that will benefit you. Or just be fun. But, yeah, be adventurous.
What is your favorite spice to cook with?
I'm going to go with cumin.
Okay.
It smells like body odor, but it tastes delicious.
Yeah, it does. It does taste really good.
I was introduced to cumin by my sister Maggie.
Oh, really?
And who smelled like cumin when she was in her 20s.
Oh, yeah.
She was a smelly little girl. But she cooked something for me. I was like, it
smells like you, but it tastes so good.
Are they bagging body odor now? She was like, it's cumin. I was like, what the hell is cumin? Anyway, so yeah, cumin is my favorite.
Okay. When did you know you were ready to have your first kid, or was I unplanned?
You were adopted. I think that when you meet the person that you know you want to spend the rest of your life with, you kind of know you're ready for kids too.
Yeah.
I always wanted kids, so I knew I wanted 5. Like I wanted,
Yeah,
like
Mom told
I
me
wanted
that's
like
a lot.
my own little hockey team. I'll say 2 things about that quickly. One, I wish I waited a little longer, like a
Really?
year. Yeah, we got married in 1999. We had you in 2001.
Yeah.
We were only married for barely 2 years before we had a kid, so Mom was pregnant for
Yeah.
a good portion of those 2 years.
Like waited more so you could do more stuff.
Yeah, so
with
like
Mom.
so I could have done more things, adventures, with just Mom and me. I was 26, Mom was 28 when we got married. She might have been 29 at that point. So I understand. I don't regret it. I'd just say if I could go back and plan it differently, I would have waited 1 more year so we
Yeah.
could have had more adventures. And the other thing is I would have had my kids closer together.
Do you remember any of the assigned books you read in middle school? If so, which ones stuck with you and why?
Can I say something from college too?
Yeah.
Well, the thing in middle school was we had to read The Odyssey by Homer.
Yeah.
And, you know, the whole thing, not the abridged version. I went to the country school in 6th grade, which is the private school in New Canaan. And when I got there in 6th grade, I immediately was like, I'm academically behind these
Yeah.
kids. They're way ahead of me. So I was nervous to read The Odyssey, and I remember feeling accomplished having read it because it's really long, it's really difficult. I don't think it made an impression on me, the book itself, so much as what it did for me having read it. The other book I read that really hit me in college, I think it was college, it was a book written in Victorian era called The Awakening by Kate Chopin, about a woman. I believe she was it was in New Orleans, and she ended up having an affair, and her husband, and the awakening was the idea of being in love and loving someone, as opposed to being married for business reasons. I don't know why it struck me. I think it struck me probably because I couldn't imagine feeling that way. Couldn't imagine feeling like I was married to the wrong person and wasn't in love and was willing to like break my vows to go find it. I think what I took from that was feeling trapped
Yeah.
and not wanting to feel trapped,
Yeah.
and how terrible it is, and you end up doing things that you promise not to do in order to not feel trapped.
What was the hardest thing about being a first-time parent?
I think the hardest thing is giving up. I don't know if I want to use the word giving up. You can't do everything you want to do anymore,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You are, in a way, and I don't like the phrase, but I'm going to say it anyway, you're giving up part of yourself for another human. And it's not like giving up sounds like you don't want to give it up, like you reluctantly give it up. It's not that. It's more like learning that you've now taken on this responsibility. Things that you're doing for yourself, you just can't always do anymore.
What do you think the worst fashion trend is or was?
The 1980s were really rough. Like the 70s were not good. People did not have good hair in the 70s. A lot of polyester bell bottoms that didn't look great. But the 80s were worse. You had fluorescent clothes all over the place.
Those are
Acid wash jeans.
Yeah, those have never really
You
been
had
cute.
like everyone like bleached their hair.
What do you think I need in a future
You?
partner? Yeah.
Oh, future partner. I think you need someone who obviously loves your goofiness and quirkiness and like ability to laugh at yourself and laugh at other things. And that's because they need to love who you are. Those things are the part of you that makes you very unique and likable, lovable. I think you will need a partner who is motivated and proactive because you are. They obviously need to be good looking. I think that you are going to have to be open to people who are shorter than 6'3". You're cutting off like 80% of the men. You should be with someone who enjoys laughing and being as goofy as you because otherwise they're just a bystander to it. And I think you would have fun with someone who's also having fun like you. Make sure you marry someone who, or don't marry, partner, whatever. I hope you get married. If you are someone who is very introverted at that point in your life, or on the introverted side where you're like, I don't really like to go to parties or go out. You know, I like to be with friends, but I don't want to go out and stuff like that. Don't marry someone who does. While two extroverts can cause trouble because they never like stay home and deal with life, introverts have the opposite problem. They never get out and experience the world.
What qualities do you see the most of yourself in each kid?
You and I are at our core optimists.
Yeah, I agree.
We see the good in people and things. I may not seem like that as much to you. That's probably because I'm a parent. But that's kind of generally my nature, is to look for the good and think in general, we're going to be okay. We'll get through this, that kind of thing. I think you and I have that similarity. Trey, I think, is a lot like me as a male in the sense that we're a lot more thoughtful about things than we let on. And that doesn't mean that's necessarily a good thing. Yeah, like if you're a thoughtful person, you should find a way to get that out so that people know you're being thoughtful. Trey's much better at it than I was. Charlie and I are actually very similar with our curiosity in life and things. I spent a lot of my free time as a kid reading the World Book Encyclopedia, which was this like 20-volume set of books that were like as wide as this table, and I would just read them to learn about things. So we're both very curious about how the world works and making sure we really understand what's correct because we don't want to be wrong. And we hate when we're talking to someone and they talk about like something and you're like, I gotta bite my tongue because they're totally wrong.
You both suck at hiding that, like, so badly.
But it can be a good quality, but it's struggle to make it one.
Well, you both make the same face, too. You, like, raise your eyebrows and you're like...
This is so bad. It's so bad. I'm not as empathetic as any of you. I'm not good at reading people. I think I get that from my dad. He sucks at reading people.
What is something that you hope I teach my kids?
How to clean their rooms. There's really nothing that I haven't wanted to teach you or lecture you about, which unfortunately I did a lot of. I didn't mean it as lecturing. I meant it as loving you guys and wanting to make sure you knew things or understood things. So I think the most important thing, sorry, I'm going to go off on a little tangent,
No,
but
it's okay. Give me a lecture.
no.
I'm kidding.
One of the challenges of being a parent is you want to keep your kids safe. You don't want them to do the wrong things, but there's a point where letting them be wrong is like the most important thing that you can teach someone or the most important thing you can let them have is to be wrong.
Yeah.
Because you learn from being wrong. You don't necessarily always learn from being right. So the thing that I hope you teach them, which I hope you have a sense of, it's something that's been on my mind a lot, is take risks.
Yeah.
I don't mean jump off a cliff. I don't mean do drugs. I don't mean drive a car really fast. I mean do things that challenge who you think you are. It doesn't mean go murder someone because you don't think you have it in you. Mom's better at this than I am, but like go up to that person that you know is hurting and say something to them. That's a risk. Most people don't think of it as a risk, but it is. The fact that I've had ALS for over a year and there's still people in town who have not reached out to me. You know? Like, it's a risk. People are scared of it. Bottom line. So, take risks. You know, travel solo. That's a little bit more along the lines of jumping off a cliff, but learning how to be safe, learning how to take care of yourself, learning how to enjoy yourself. That's a risk. So yeah, take risks, be adventurous. That'll be a theme probably with a lot of my answers, but I have no doubt that all three of you will model how to be caring people. I think one of the best things Mom and I did was model and show you how to be involved in your community and to rely on your community. And I think that, you know, our situation is a good example. I mean, you know, the community cares. And so that's important. So yeah.
What's your favorite city? I know you're not really much of a city person, but...
Oh, no, that's not true. I may not want to live in a city, but I love cities.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's a really good question. Favorite city I've been to? I don't know. I loved Sydney, Australia. I loved Prague. I had a new appreciation for Paris. I'm going to go with Dublin.
Really?
Ireland.
Okay. Yeah, Dublin was really cool.
I loved Dublin.
Yeah.
I just felt like it was a place. It didn't feel like a city. It felt like a big town. Yeah. So I guess of cities that I've spent more than like 24 hours in, I would say that Dublin's probably the one that I would like want to go back to for a variety of reasons. Like to go see some music, to go out to some pubs, to like have fun with friends. Yeah. Probably that.
What do you think the most about when you're alone?
That's the hardest question you've asked so far. By far. God. I'm a pretty tough self-critic. So I would say if I had to take all the moments I've been alone in my life, it's probably been the things that I have done wrong or could do better. Probably not a great way to spend my time.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's easier when you're around other people to like see yourself through their eyes in a way.
Yeah, but I know for a fact there are people out there who don't think about any of the bad shit they've done.
Yeah.
Like, if they're alone...
But I mean for people like us.
Yeah.
Like when you're around other people, it's easier to be like reading someone else and being like, oh, this person appreciates me.
Yeah. No, definitely. I just know certain people, when they're alone, they're trying to figure out how not to be alone.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think I struggle with being alone at all. But what I struggle with is being kind to myself.
When did you know you loved Mom?
This sounds cheesy, but the moment I saw her, I have been kicked out of college with an opportunity to apply to return. So they didn't say take a year off. They're like, you're done. If you want to come back, you have to apply to come back. So during that year away, during the year after I was told to leave, my roommate Dustin, we lived in Chester for a month he was a senior, so in between his semesters, and we worked at Newsbank and went skiing and stuff. But it was a kind of a crappy winter, so we ended up not skiing much. But anyway, Mom was working at Newsbank, and she was, back then we didn't have any cell phones. There's probably no cell service in Vermont anyway, but at that age we didn't have them. And I got to Newsbank on the first day, and I walked through the door, and Mom was standing there on the phone talking to another boy who was trying to get her to go out with him. And she had on tights and a little corduroy skirt and dance goes and her red Patagonia jacket.
Aw.
And she turned around and smiled at me. And yeah, that was it. Sounds cheesy, but I think that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, some people it's a slow burn, like you've known someone for 10 years, then you realize all of a sudden you love them, but no, when she smiled at me, I was like, I want that person to smile at me the rest of my life.
Do you believe in love at first sight?
Yeah, of course. I mean, let's put it this way. Like, there's energy people give off. Some people, you don't understand their energy, and you're like, are they good or are they bad? Like, it's not quite obvious. Other people, it's obvious. And I think that sometimes you can feel and understand that energy by just looking at them. So I think that, yeah, I think so. Now, do I believe that, like, I don't know, you get off on a plane and you're walking through the airport and you see someone and you're like, oh my God, I'm in love with that person? Mm-hmm. That might be pushing the boundary for me. Now, do I think that person's beautiful? They look intriguing. Do they have energy that you kind of can get? Yeah. But I think there's got to be a little bit more to it, like an interaction with that person. So if Mom hadn't turned around, smiled at me and said hello, and I just saw her and never saw her again, I don't know if I would have been in love with her. I might have been intrigued, but...
What qualities do you appreciate most about Katie?
Katie wants to make sure you have everything you need, And that's just always been her... Works against her because it's like her perfectionism. Mm-hmm. She's a perfectionist, and that's really... No one's perfect. Nothing can be perfect. But she strives to make it as perfect as she can.
Yeah.
For you. And she's just always been like that. Both my sisters have, and I like to think I'm like that for them, but I probably was selfish a bit over the years. She would drop anything. Yeah. I mean, the woman has she's been away as much as she's been home in the past year.
Yeah.
Helping me, helping my parents. She's very
selfless.
Awesome like that.
Yeah. What do you think? Here's a good question. What do you think Dixie thinks, like, when I, like, hug her?
I think Dixie is, like, flooded with endorphins. And it's like, like, this is exactly what I need. And then when it stops, she's like, what? Did I do something wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? Am I going to be okay? Where's my next hug?
I know. She is like that.
She's insecure.
I know. She is a little insecure, baby.
Yeah.
What do you think Bowie thinks when he sees Mom?
It's like he wants to crawl back into the womb.
Yeah.
I mean, he's ridiculous. Right? You are ridiculous.
What's the most beautiful moment that you've witnessed in nature?
Oh, there's nothing more beautiful for me than being by myself on my skis when there's like a snowfall and it's silent and you can see around you, so it's not like a blinding snowfall. It's snowing light enough that it's, like a decent snow, but not so heavy that it blocks your view. It's the most, like, at peace I feel in nature. You know, the most beautiful place for me, for some reason, is the Champlain Valley. There's something about that area, Charlotte, the place where you and I drove out of the farm country. It's just beautiful. The lake, the mountains, like a sunset over the mountains is like, it doesn't get any better than that.
What qualities do you admire most about Mom?
As crazy as she is, and as much as she doesn't listen to me at times, there's no one else on this planet I want, like, on my team. She has a great laugh, which isn't really a quality, but her smile and her laugh has always been something that just makes me feel good. She's a tough bitch.
That she is.
Yeah. I mean, no one better F with her, which you got that quality, you know? I mean, if someone crosses her or crosses someone she loves, look out. Obviously, she's amazing in the sense of, like, you know, she cooks great food, she takes care of people, she'll drop whatever she's doing to go help a friend, all those things, which are obviously admirable qualities, but I think what has always drawn me to her loyalty, her protectionist, protectionist, I don't know what, but she's protective of the ones she loves, and her love is true and loyal. It's not dependent on things.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if I was an asshole and did bad things all the time, she probably would fall out of love with me. But
Yeah, but it's like she's very unconditional with
Yeah.
her love.
yeah, love you, baby.
What was a difficult moment in your childhood for you?
I think the most difficult thing in my childhood was having a father I didn't trust. And by that, I mean, not that he would, like, take my money and, like, you know, whatever. I didn't trust him to love who I was. I knew from a very young age that I needed to be a certain thing for him. And I think he'd be heartbroken to hear that. I never told him that. I kind of did one time, but it didn't really sink in. And I think my sisters would probably say the exact same thing. There was no one event. So I lived in this one house from birth till I was 10 or so. And that feeling I have started at that house. It wasn't like I was 13 and I was discovering that I wanted to be some goth punk, you know, whatever. You know, it was being young and knowing that there was only, if it was a feeling I had that there was only a certain kind of me that would be okay for him. And it didn't necessarily match up to who I was. That was the most scarring thing for me.
What do you admire about Maggie?
Excuse you, Dixie.
Dixie just sneezed.
Maggie has a way about herself that draws people to her, and a lot of people have that, not always for the best reasons, but for her it was always for the best reasons. She was accepting and warm, is good at saying nice things to people about them, a lot like Mom. She's goofy like you. Maggie and I just laughed a lot as kids. We fought, and I was not nice to her. I'm sorry, Maggie. I was a mean older brother sometimes, and I, to this day, have guilty pangs about it. Like flushing your head in the toilet or locking you under the kitchen sink.
Oh my god, that's bad.
I know, but she got me too, at times. But, like, she was awesome. Like, I would tell her to come out and build mountain bike trails with me in the woods, and she did it.
That's so fun.
You know, play in the sand pit outside of our driveway, and she did it. She was a good sister, and we had fun together.
How do you relax?
prior to ALS, I didn't have a good daily way of relaxing, which was bad. So I would rely on things like looking at my phone or TV, which isn't terribly relaxing. So the most relaxing things that I could do for in order of effectiveness, lying in bed with mom at the end of the day, laughing and just talking, as long as we didn't end up in a fight. That was very relaxing for me. Because when you're older and you have a family, if things are like they are right now, kind of like planets are out of orbit, it's very hard to be relaxed. The obvious things, which I'm sure people could probably answer for me, were biking and skiing. That was relaxing for me. As difficult and strenuous as it was physically, being outside, traveling through nature is relaxing for me.
When life feels all too consuming, what are your first few steps on moving forward?
One of the things I'm really good at when things can get scary is I don't jump to conclusions. I don't assume the worst. Unless I know the worst is coming, I am able to tell myself I don't have enough information. I'm not going to get upset about something I don't know enough about. And I think that helps me keep things in perspective when they do happen. I don't know how I do this or why I do this, but I have a way of taking like a step outside my body and trying to really look down on the situation and get a better read on what's really going on. And I wasn't always good at that. But as I've gotten older, that's what I've done is I don't let my head go to the worst places. I say, okay, what do I know? Or what do I think is really going on? Or what more information do I need? I've realized as I've gotten older, I'm very fortunate that I don't get overwhelmed very easily. This sounds crazy, but like I feel like I could like go into like a war zone. Or like obviously right now with ALS, I wouldn't feel that way. But before that, if like our house caught on fire, I wouldn't freak out. I would be like, okay, where are the kids? Where are the dogs? Nothing else really matters. I wouldn't be like, oh my god, my house is burning down. You know, it's like, I don't know. I don't know what it is about me. I get it from my mom. Obviously, don't get it from my dad. He would be like freaking out. But my mom, you know, like when I flew over my handlebars and smashed my teeth in and scraped all the skin off my face and my knee, my mom was like dead calm. She cared, but she was totally calm. Yeah. So I guess I'm lucky that when things feel out of control and overwhelming, I don't break down.